All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular council meeting of November 2nd, 2020. And Judy, it would be great if you could do the roll call so we can call this meeting to order.
Indeed. Hausch.
I am here.
McQueen.
Here.
Stokes.
Here.
Krieger.
Likewise here.
Thank you. Curlis.
Here.
Thank you. Also present are Sergeant Naomi Watson, Chief Carlson, Denise Swinger, Planning and Zoning Administrator is Johnny Burns, Public Works Director is here, and Solicitor Brianne Parcels. Also present is Village Manager Josue Salmeron.
All right, thank you, Judy. And we are going to begin with a couple swearing-ins, 3 to be exact. And I saw that Naya just got on. And so we have Naya, Lori, and Carmen. And I am going to stand. If you guys do not have the swearing-in language in front of you, that's okay. I'll read slowly and you'll repeat after me. And great if you want to stand as well. You know, who knows these days with COVID. So, all right. Okay, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly affirm.
I solemnly affirm.
All right. Naya and Carmen and Lori, you guys can all have your mics on.
Okay.
All right. Hey, I'll start again. I solemnly affirm.
I solemnly affirm
That I will support the Constitution.
that I will support the Constitution
And will obey the laws of the United States.
and will obey the laws of the United States
And of the state of Ohio.
and of the state of Ohio.
And that I will in all respects.
And that I will in all respects
Observe the provisions of the Charter.
observe the provisions of the Charter
And the ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs.
And the
and the ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of.
And then you can say the office of your commission. The office of.
The Office of Arts and Cultural Commission.
All right, cool. All right. So with that, great to have you guys aboard. I will say that we will safely deliver a Village of Yellow Springs lapel pin to you. I'll make sure you guys get that. And thanks for your service. Take care.
Thanks.
Yay, thank you. Yay, see you tomorrow at our meeting.
All right. Yeah, we love having new commission members, so thank you guys. And we are going to next move into announcements. I know that Josue has one, and I'm sure we'll have a few others as well. So Josue.
Thank you, Brian. My announcement is brief and it's regarding the concerns that several residents have raised about tomorrow being an election date and what we can anticipate. From a public safety perspective, we will be fully staffed tomorrow prior to the polls being open and well after the polls being open. So we'll have police officers available and ready to respond if we have anything come up. So just want to reaffirm the public that we have a contingency plan and we're contemplating a variety of scenarios and we're just ready and we'll be ready to serve. Brian, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add, Chief?
Just that if anyone has any concerns while they're at the polling location, please let the pollster, the officials there know. They will contact us should the need arise. But other than that, I think we're going to have a wonderful day. Everybody get out and enjoy the day and vote. And we will see you. We'll be in the area the whole day.
Thank you, Josue. Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I'll also say I appreciate starting out with voting. I wanted to wear my human mask because tomorrow, well, this election is super important for a variety of reasons. Fighting racism is certainly one of them. And I think everyone knows, if you haven't already voted in person for early voting or done a mail-in ballot, that you can vote in person tomorrow at Election Day. Polls are open at 6:30 a.m. They remain open as long as you're in line by 7:30 p.m., then you will get to vote. And I know that we've got several council members. I believe Laura Curlis and Mary Ann McQueen are volunteering tomorrow. There are poll observers out there. There are people making sure that these elections are run fairly and safely. And I appreciate that the village team is ready for any issues that will not occur, because as Chief said, we're going to have a great day. Do we have any other announcements?
Brian?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, there are, I think, 5 of us from Yellow Springs who did a training, a peacekeepers training through a national group called Election Protection. And we did this under the auspices of the Village Mediation Program. So, for example, Jay Rothman and I went to Montgomery County on Sunday to the Board of Election, and it was very peaceful. It would have been very hard to have really been disruptive because it was within the building and the parking lot area. But there will be a few of us at the Yellow Springs polls, and I know I have a friend who's been doing observation at the Greene County Board of Election, and so far in our area, I have not heard of any kind of disruptions. The only problems are the long lines.
And well worth the wait. Thanks for sharing that, Mary Ann. Any other announcements?
I have an announcement about a Yellow Springs Community Foundation sponsored class. COVID protocols followed at House of AUM in their big studio. African Caribbean drumming classes. There'll be an adult class and a youth class starting on November the 5th. The youth class will be at 3 o'clock, the adult class at 4, little after 4. And it's meant to be affordable. So the class is free. The drum rental is basically donation. And call Jamfi Jamara at 614-769-5133, 614-769-5133. Or you can email me at my name at gmail.com, lauracurlis@gmail.com, and I'll get you on the list. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. That's great to hear. And I know that we all need safely distanced activities right now. So it's great that John Fee's doing that. Any other announcements?
Brian, this is Sergeant Watson.
Yeah.
And this is in response to what Mary Ann McQueen said. Mary Ann, if you can hear me, if you can get with me tomorrow morning, maybe call the police department and they can put you through to my cell phone. You can let me know who's going to be out there and I can give you an idea of what's going on with us. So maybe we can work together if there's any issues. It might be a good idea to know if it's something that we think that better for you to handle than for us and vice versa. And that would be good. I'll be out there by 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, I'll let you know this evening.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks. Thank you for that, Sergeant Watson. Any other announcements? Okay, I think I just have 2 more then. First of all, I wanted to thank Miami Township Fire and Rescue and the village team for doing a safely distanced Halloween activity on Saturday. I heard that we ran out of candy, so we must have given out a lot because I know how generous the township and the village has been in the past. I heard great things about it. I appreciate our public works crew for helping to set things up, moving the big pumpkin, appreciate our peace officers for keeping people safe, and appreciate the township for hosting at their brand new awesome fire station, which is another thing that's going to keep our community safe. So great. And I also want to say, I think we made a really good choice in doing what was right for our community. And that's kind of my next thing. I think it's important that we regularly check in on COVID. I think most of us are aware of what Dr. Fauci and the real scientists have been saying around what we are probably, need to anticipate for the winter. So I really just, again, want to thank everyone in the village for making good decisions for our community to keep us safe. We've been doing great. We need to stay vigilant. And, I've said many times that this requires all of us to be in this together, as we've heard so many times. So almost all villagers are making great decisions to keep us safe. All but 2 businesses are making great decisions to keep us safe. We know that our organizations, the schools, the village, the township are doing things to be active about keeping people safe, and it's really paid off. I also want to thank, besides our village frontline workers who have been making sure to keep everything going in terms of services, also thank all our local and beyond frontline workers who are allowing us to still do some of the things we like to do, like eat out and shop and that sort of thing. But again, I want to remind everyone, keep yourselves safe, keep each other safe, stay home when you can, and remember that we need to keep up what we've been doing, and that layering effect of masks and sanitizing, and also making sure that we're distancing along with the other protocols around gatherings are really important. Last thing I want to mention is just a reminder. We've been doing the virtual meetings for a while. I have to say that you can expect that these will continue because we need to keep everyone safe. And with that, I want to be really clear about everyone following those protocols. If you do have a comment as a citizen, or anyone really, keep those comments succinct, no longer than 3 minutes. Judy will be timing those unless she's reading someone's letter, and I will time. We need to make sure that you state your name, first and last name. We need to make sure that you state your affiliation. If you're not comfortable as a resident with giving your address, at least let us know you're a village resident. If you're not, we want to understand that affiliation as well. These are important pieces of the process that we will be following carefully moving forward. So with that, I am going to move to the consent agenda. And we've got 3 sets of minutes from our last regular council meeting and our first 2 work sessions for the financials. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
To approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Judy, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Stokes,
Yes.
Krieger,
Yes.
Curlis,
Yes.
McQueen,
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to do a quick review of the agenda. Anything we need to add, modify, or remove?
Brian, I might want to say a few words about the Township BZA hearing on Thursday.
Okay. So let's put that under new business. Anything else?
Yes, Brian, we need to remove resolution 2020-46. That is not yet quite ready.
Okay, we'll do that. Anything else? All right. Then I'm going to hand it off to Vice President Mary Ann McQueen to let us know about the petitions and communications.
Yes. We had the petition that we discussed at the last council meeting regarding people who have a concern about the Mills Lawn property and would like to see most of it or much of it kept as a park. There was also a letter from Bronwyn Reese concerned about safety around election time and referencing a letter that she had sent earlier. And I would just like to respond. She was concerned why council hadn't responded. And the reason was that she had not wanted that letter to be public. And in that case, individual council members would not normally respond, and we couldn't have as a council body because then it would have been public. And lastly, the county health department has put out a warning about being safe in your vehicle because this is deer season when they're running around more than usual. And it gave some very good pointers about how to be safe, which is basically keep your eyes open, keep your lights on, and if you see something like a deer, slow down. And don't swerve. So that was just those 3 items.
All right, thank you very much, Mary Ann. So I believe as we move into legislation, the first 5 or 6 items are all recommendations for cleaning up the zoning code. So I think before we read anything in, I'm going to have Denise Swinger get on the mic and kind of give us an overview of what we're looking at for tonight.
Just an overview of the 6 that are on here.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to just kind of highlight, the high points of your memo, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, a lot of them are repeats from what was previous about language such as the electric lines being 7.5 feet from structures. We've just did some wordsmithing. One thing that we found was that Johnny Burns had suggested in another section of the code about wastewater that we should require that it be filtered to minimize grease and solid matter before it gets discharged into our public sewers, because that has been a problem, especially in the downtown area. We added a 2-step process for pocket neighborhood developments. We just felt that trying to push it all through in one planning commission meeting was difficult. So the first meeting in the future would be a work session, a public work session where they can bring the documents to the meeting, and then if there's any questions, they can follow up at the second meeting, which would also be the public hearing. We just wanted to add a demolition permit to another section under fees. And again, the thing about accessory structures, we wanted to clarify the measuring of that relating to setbacks. The last thing was under uses not listed. We just have these situations that come up, and it's the way the code reads. If you have a use that's in a certain district, but it doesn't show up in another district, it's an automatic no. And we just have come across times where we felt that just wasn't fair. So in the spirit of promoting development, especially economic development, we wanted to be able to, rather than just say no, especially when it doesn't have an effect on surrounding properties, where it may be an existing commercial building that has parking. We changed the language to that to allow, under certain circumstances, those to be vetted by the Planning Commission for possible approval. And I think that kind of summarized those 6.
All right. Thank you so much, Denise. So I just want to mention as we read these in, first of all, this is going to be first readings. And since they're ordinances, there will be ordinances. There will be second readings at our next meeting, which is going to be on November 16th. That's when we will have public hearings. But for today, if there are any questions or comments that might lead to any modifications of the legislation, please bring those forward. So with that, Judy, if you could read in ordinance 2020-30 by title only, please.
Yes, this is repealing section 1224.01 application fee of the codified ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, and enacting new section 1224.01 application fee.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments for Denise? Okay. So I don't think we need to vote on this tonight. So we'll move to ordinance 2020-31. And Judy, again, we can do that by title only.
All right, this is repealing section 1248.03 spatial requirements of the codified ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, and enacting new section 1248.03 spatial requirements.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any questions or comments from council or citizens? All right. Okay, again, we'll have a public hearing and vote on this next time. But for those of you that are joining late, these are pretty much pro forma cleaning things up. All right, Judy, let's do 2020-32 again by title only.
All right, this is repealing section 1262.08 specific requirements of the codified ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, and enacting new section 1262.08 specific requirements.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
It's the race to the unmute button.
See, yeah, you got to be quick on the draw. All right, any questions or comments from citizens or council? All right. Okay, if not, we'll come back to this on the 16th. And Judy, let's do ordinance 2020-33 by title only.
All right, this is repealing section 1272.01 zoning permit required of the codified ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, and enacting new section 1272.01 zoning permit required.
All right, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Okay, so actually I do have something on this one. Okay, so I'm looking specifically at section 1272.01 F4, and this is the one about not needing a zoning permit if you are repaving a impervious surface. Okay, so my thought was, and it kind of relates to what we talked about at the last meeting with, you know, is there an opportunity here to incentivize or kind of get people to think about potentially an opportunity to not repave with a pervious surface? So we don't need to discuss this necessarily, but I was thinking, and I don't know if this is something for Environmental Commission to look at or not, but maybe some language that indicates that, you know, there might be an opportunity there, because I think that the more we can lay the groundwork for trying to minimize or mitigate our stormwater issues, the better. So anyway, so I mean, if anyone wants to comment, fine, but mostly I just wanted to put that out there because I think there could be some language, and I'd like us to even think about in the future, are there ways that we really could incentivize more environmentally sustainable development? So whenever these opportunities come up, I just want us to point them out.
Brian, I would like to speak to this. An impervious surface is an impervious surface. So yeah, if you put blacktop over packed gravel or however they do it, it's less environmentally friendly because it's carcinogenic, but it's still impervious. So if I don't think it makes sense to put anything regarding that section. If we could put something similar to what was done in the landscaping area or the stormwater area about how to create water retention on your property. But that would mean taking an impervious surface, a driveway, and I don't know what it would have to take a lot of work to then create it to be pervious. You'd have to dig it up and put stuff down, and I mean, you could do it, but that's something different.
Right. Well, and definitely what you're referring to is, you know, what I was thinking about. So yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding it. I mean, my understanding is that the paving material that these parking lots, you know, previously might have as impervious, but I mean, if it's true that you can never change that or mitigate it, then yeah.
It just doesn't require a permit or a parking plan if it's already asphalt and you're just paving over existing asphalt. But to go and take something that is pervious like gravel and then wanting to make it asphalt, then we're going to come back. Then we want to see a plan, and we're going to put in some stronger restrictions on that. I mean, in terms of you have to have green borders, and you have to have landscaping within the actual parking lot.
Okay. So I wanted to bring it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I want to bring it up. I might want to discuss this a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting if you have an impervious surface and you want to maybe make it the opposite, switch it so it's not, and what incentivizing things we could do with that. I mean, you know, it could be something like waive some of the restrictions on the parking for B2 or those areas.
So that's basically what I'm getting at.
Okay.
And, you know, it may not happen, you know, this round, but I wanted that to be out there.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, cool. Any other questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, if not, let's move to 2020-34 and Judy again by title only.
All right, this is repealing Appendix A, fee schedule of the codified ordinances of the codified ordinances, Part 12, Title 4, zoning of the Village of Yellow Springs, Ohio, and enacting new appendix fee schedule.
All right, can I get a motion?
Move. I move.
Second.
Second.
All right.
I got you, Lisa.
All right, any questions or comments from council members or citizens? Okay, I actually have something on this as well. So I just wanted to confirm, based on this ordinance, was the last time that we reviewed these fees December of 2017? We haven't done any updates since then?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, and that is something that's on our radar because we would like to look at some point, research what other communities are charging. Our fees are low compared to others.
Yeah.
I happened to send it to Jessica Hansen at City of Bellbrook, who was doing a study, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, yours are low." So,
yeah, and that was my feeling. Yeah.
At some point, that's on our to-do list for sure.
Okay, and so I guess I wanted to then, related to that, you do though think it's important to add this change now?
Yeah, because right now we're doing it under something called change of use, which really is not a really good thing to do. So we really want to make it demolition permit because we have 3 of the utilities. And we want to make sure that if they go straight to Greene County and they're not bypassing us completely, and because we need to make sure, or at least the Public Works Department needs to make sure that the electric meters are actually removed and we get them back. And same with the water meters. We've had situations like that before, as well as then that the water and sewer lines are sealed properly.
Right.
So, yes. Okay.
Yeah, well, I would just, I know Greene County Regional Planning Commission recently updated fees, and I'm glad that that's on our radar because I think ours are low, as you said. So, okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. And then next up, we've got 2020-35. Again, we can do that by title only.
This is amending section 1242.06, uses not listed of the codified ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All right. So I do have a comment on this one as well. So I understand the modification and I think it's good, but I feel like it's really clunky the way it's written. And part of it is like in that subsection A, it's saying like, you can't do this. And then I love the statement recognizing, that in effect, it becomes, exclusionary. And so I don't want to necessarily take that out, but after thinking about some different options, I wonder if we could just collapse A and B and say something like, instead of in B saying in any district, saying for a particular district. And I think this will capture everything, and the language in B I think is a lot less clunky. So I guess what I'm going to suggest is take a look at that again. Another option I thought of is that maybe the word typically in subsection A could work. But yeah, I think we could just be a little bit clearer. So the intent I think is right on, but I'm going to recommend better language.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, then let's go ahead and move on to actually something that's not about the zoning code. And that is, well, actually, maybe it is Resolution 2020-44. Judy, I think we can do that by title only as well.
All right, this is acknowledging the village's prior vacation of the alley located north of Dayton Street, south of Union Street, between Stafford Street and Winter Street, as well as South Park Place between Dayton Street and Union Street.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, is this Denise or Josue?
It's me and then Brianne.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we were approached about, from a title company about a alley vacation on a property on Dayton Street. It was specifically the Union Schoolhouse. And we couldn't find any documentation because that property was built so long ago. And then had to get, after we exhausted our files here and even got Wright State University's archives involved, we talked with our solicitor, Brianne, and she actually found Sanborn maps, fire maps showing that the actual structure had been built in 1872. And she can get in, and I'll kind of switch it over to her. This was a simple survey that turned into this big headache, because even Greene County showed that it was vacated, showed that there was another street that never existed, that everything had been vacated, but their records, they had no records either. So, and I can let Brianne kind of take off from this point.
Sure. Because it was done so long ago, of course, we now have a procedure for right-of-way and alley vacation that, a property owner can petition, and it goes through planning commission. But this was actually done. So what council is doing with this resolution is saying, we are acknowledging what was done so long ago, even though we cannot find the record of it, all of the official records and even the replats at Greene County for some of these sections show that the alley was vacated, even though we cannot find the record of it. So in the future, as conveyance standards get more stringent and they want to actually have a volume and page reference in the recorder's office that they can point to as authority saying that alley was vacated, we're giving them a reference document. And we've also notified the property owners that most of them have a vacated alley reference in their deeds. But again, we don't know if it was done by ordinance because we can't find one. We don't know if it was done by motion because we haven't found anything in the minutes from that far back, over 100 years ago. And it could have even been done by deed, but that would require a forensic title search to go back into the records, which would set you back a couple $100, or one of the property owners back a couple $100. When everything that's on the record is showing that this alley was vacated, we just can't find the record of it.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Thanks, Brianne. Do we have any questions or comments from council or citizens? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So Judy, let's go ahead and call the roll, please.
Yes, Stokes.
Yes.
Curlis.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, before we lose Denise, and Matt, this relates to you as well. It occurred to me that for our next meeting, it would be great to have a report on the lodging tax. And what I'm looking for is tracking, since we began the lodging tax, the revenues. So basically over those 3-ish years. And also, Denise, I think where you have a role is changes in the number of those units across those years. So I'd like to see what's happened with the revenues, but also with the number of the accessory units, the lodging units.
I can help with the numbers and
Right,
since because since you guys turned it into a conditional use, that those numbers drop dramatically. So
Yeah.
but I can provide that to you. Yes.
Okay, good. So if you guys don't mind putting that together, I don't think it should take too much time, but I think it'll be useful with our budgeting. But it also has some other implications. I think I've learned that, we would have thought that the lodging tax would have gone down quite a bit during COVID, but for a variety of reasons, including certain things attracting people into the village, I think the revenues did not go down that much, but I'll be curious to see. Not that I'm advocating a lot of these activities, but I do want to track the revenue. So with that, we've got one last piece of legislation, 2020-45. And Judy, we can do that by title only as well.
Oh, I have 2020-46.
Yeah, it's interesting because on the agenda, I see that on the copy I have, but on the agenda, 46 is the one that we took off the agenda. So I think that
I'll check them. I did some renumbering when we pulled something earlier, so I'll make sure it's correct before you sign it, Brian.
okay.
This is approving check signing privileges for West Banco Bank, general checking and guaranteed deposits.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Judy, do you want to explain what this is about?
This is another housekeeping measure. We've done a few of these. Each time you have anyone on the check signers list changes, we need a new resolution. So we did one of these when Josue came along to add him and take off the previous village manager. And we're now adding Matt and removing Colleen. That's it.
It's pretty straightforward. Any questions or comments? Okay, if not, Judy, let's do the roll.
Yes, Curlis.
Yes.
Stokes.
Yes.
Krieger.
Yes.
McQueen.
Yes.
Ouch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now going to move into citizen concerns, and this is the point on the agenda where we'd love to get any input about things that are not specifically on the agenda. Again, remember, limit your comments to 3 minutes. State your name, your affiliation, and with that, if we have any citizen concerns, we welcome those at this time.
I was led to anticipate someone phoning in. If we can just check for that.
Okay, so I see Parker and Terry. And I don't see anyone that's...
Yellow Springs News has their hand up.
Oh, okay. Megan.
Thank you, Brian. Good evening. I just have a couple items. First of all, council had been talking for several meetings about the possibility of meeting safely indoors. And in fact, there was even a work session in the Bryan Center gym about a month ago that I thought went well. So I'd like council to update the community on where they are with that. And if the plan is to continue with Zoom, I'd be curious the village, if the village knew how many villagers have access to the internet, and if they had thought about any ways of reaching folks that are not effectively able to participate in council meetings at present because of the format. My second question is involving the annexation timeline for the the property at the south end of town. I know in the timeline, there's a couple of items happening in November, including the developer submitting a preliminary plan application and the Developer and Planning Commission holding work sessions. According to the timeline, December 7th is when the initial ordinance approving annexation. But I know there's a lot of work to be done until then. So I would be curious if the village has received a preliminary plan application, as well as what their plan is in terms of working with the developer, who would be part of that team, and how that would proceed. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Megan. Those are both great questions. Actually, I'm going to break them up into three. So let's start from the last one, because I think these are worth answering right now. So Josue, can you respond to the questions around annexation and the timeline?
Yes. And that response will take several of us because there's several pieces to it. On the annexation piece, I'm aware that the petitioners, and in plural, because there's several folks that need to sign off on it, the petition has been signed and has been delivered to the Board of Commissions, who has to meet and pass, and then it comes back to us. I would need to check with the team to see if we're still, in terms of date and the timeline, we are still on track to meet the December 7th, having the first reading of that ordinance. And part of it has to do with some of the timing. There's a 60-day waiting period that needs to take place, and we need to check off those boxes. The other piece that goes into the annexation ordinance that will come before council is the development of it. It's the drafting of the development agreement and the team that's involved in working on the development agreement. I'm convening a work group for that drafting of the development agreement. And so we are scheduled to meet in a week's time and to continue that work. So that needs to happen as well. Am I missing anything, Brianne?
No.
Nope, I think that covers the annexation question.
Can you share who's on that group and how they were selected?
It's my work group. It's part of the Village Managers Advisory Group process. So I've done a sourcing of folks with skill set and certain items that we want to cover as part of the drafting of development agreement.
Okay. So then working backwards, I wanted to pull out the question about, do we know about citizen access to our government meetings? Yeah.
Brian, I don't have the reports readily available with me, but Philip O'Rourke has been tracking the attendance and engagement through our various social media channels and all our distribution channels. One thing that we've concluded in is that we've had on Zoom, we've had more participation on the Zoom platform than we've had in the in-person meetings. So in terms of public access and public engagement, and number-wise, we've seen an increase versus the number of individuals that participated in person to the meeting. So we think that we have expanded access to the council meetings to the general public. However, this does not address the concern that Megan raised. What about folks who don't have internet connection? I think our process hasn't, other than not being able to meet in person, I don't know that we've expanded access to that pool. However, those folks are now able to phone into council meetings, which was a function that was not available prior to our meetings going to Zoom. So I think that that's improved and enhanced access to the Zoom meetings because we weren't able to do that then. So I think that's a positive. But if you're interested, I can have Philip update the numbers in terms of our engagement with council meetings. So Megan, I hope that I answer your question.
And I think I'll just follow up. Megan and I talked a little bit about this last week. I think a couple things that would be interesting. We've tried in the past to figure out what our viewership is like via, the community access station on cable. There's not a great way to do that, but if there's any creative ideas about how to figure out that would be good. The second thing you made me think of, Josue, is maybe it's a good idea for us to kind of, figure out some kind of visible ad that we could also put on social media and places to remind people that they can phone in and just since we anticipate, and we'll get to that last part of the question, that it's going to be hard to meet in person for a while, a reminder of how people can participate. And the third thing I thought of when Megan and I spoke is, we've collaborated a lot with the schools, and they have some good information on, from the online learning aspect of access. And I know we're covering a lot of that with the hotspots and some of the other things we're doing. But maybe we can, work with the schools a little bit more to make sure that in getting their students online, that the parents also understand, that they can use that to participate in government meetings if they'd like to. So those are my initial thoughts. But I think, let's keep looking at that. And so then on this, I guess the initial part of the question about, in-person meetings, Mary Ann and Laura, why don't you both just speak briefly to your thoughts around that, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I can talk. As someone with some hearing loss, I found that the in-person meeting wearing masks made it much more difficult for me to hear. And I think it's not just me. When you have a mask on, it muffles what people are saying. Also, I feel much more connected to council people, at any rate, when I can see you all on the screen than when you're, halfway across the gym floor. Also, when we meet in the gym, I didn't feel safe. And I'm not someone who really worries about that, but spending all that time in that room and now understanding how the virus spreads primarily through aerosol. And then if we actually had a substantial number of citizens come, I don't think it's safe. And so those are my thoughts.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Laura?
I agree that many people will not feel safe. I felt safe in that last meeting we had, but I would understand completely why some people wouldn't. We had very few members of the public. I think if we had 10 more, maybe none of us would feel safe. Just because of the numbers. And I know then there's staff, and I know staff doesn't feel that great with so many people coming in and out of the building, even if it is once every 2 weeks.
Thanks,
I guess, yeah. And and then it's just spiking everywhere. And so there's just that much more chance that somebody will bring it in. So I guess for now, I think I vote to continue with the Zoom platform.
Yeah. Lisa?
You're muted, Lisa.
Thanks. So I totally understand the concerns about digital access. However, we're going into the winter at a time when the numbers are spiking, and I think it would be really foolish of us to take this chance either for ourselves or for community members who would attend. I mean, I agree with the strategies to increase participation, but after all this time to put down our guard and take these chances just doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, thanks, Lisa. And I know Kevin's spoken on this before as well. I don't know if you want to say anything more, Kevin.
Nothing additional. I mean, everyone's covered the point, so I think we're in total agreement.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, and thanks for those questions again, Megan. Any other citizen concerns? Judy, are you supposed to read a letter or?
No, that person was planning to phone in.
Okay. All right, so if there are no other citizen concerns, we're going to move to special reports. And I believe we've got a treasurer's report to talk about.
We do. Here we go. Currently, we have under active investment $9,993,358. This represents an increase of $2,638,545 since the beginning of 2020. Earnings from investments from January through September of 2020 were $67,136. Your last treasurer's report was given in July 2020, when we'd seen fairly typical investment income for January and February. So as with the July report, this report finds us continuing to experience the market effects of the global pandemic. This experience will move differently depending on the outcome of the election, but given the village's conservative investment strategy, our income is likely to remain low but consistent. And Brad Drager has a really excellent kind of view of what might happen based on the outcome of the election and pandemic and vaccines. And it's a very good report that is included in the packet. Excuse me. So per our Finance Committee meeting on July 15th, all funds were moved out of Star Plus and into Star Ohio, and then all but 1.5 million was transferred out of Star Ohio and into the Raymond James investment account. So presently Star Plus is earning 0.20%, and that's a one-day commitment. Star Ohio is earning a 0.13% with a one-day commitment, and Raymond James investment accounts are earning an average of 1.85 with a 2.17-year commitment. At the end of July, the village worked with Brad Drager to move $1,425,000 out of Star Plus and into a sweep account at West Banco. And this was done because when the village opened that account with West Banco, a fixed interest rate of 1.25 was guaranteed for a 5-year period. And that is remarkable in the current market. And I'm sure the folks at West Banco are just gritting their teeth, but that was promised to us for a 5-year period. And then you've got various charts which show what's invested where. The liquidity for Star Ohio is 24 hours and money at West Banco is immediately available. And again, I just encourage you to read Brad Drager's report because he is a financial wizard kind of guy, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of great information in there, but also talks about elections and COVID and lots of other things. Do we have any questions or comments on the treasurer's report?
Brian, I would like to add one thing.
Please.
The $9,900,000 that you see there, that represents just about all of our cash. And the reason we are calling it that it's available for an investment fund, or that it is an investment fund, is Judy mentioned this, that we moved all of our money into a money market account, and it's yielding that 1%. And that's available to us on a daily basis. We've set up a separate account that acts as our operating account where we make our payables out of. So all of our checks get paid out of a separate account. And the way that we set up our accounts with West Banco is that if there's a check that needs to be cleared, West Banco automatically takes it from a money market account and applies it to that operating account, pays it out. Any deposits that come into that account on a daily basis, West Banco puts it into the money market account, and so that we are earning interest. We set that up through West Banco to create efficiencies. That way there is no manual process of us moving money to accounts so that we can cover obligations. So we're keeping everything in that money market account.
Thanks for adding that, Josue. And, I want to say, I really appreciate the work that the investment committee did, in the prior year. And, I think part of the reason that we haven't really met that often is once the council made a decision to hire an investment consultant at what I think is a very reasonable rate, we felt good about handing off that expertise, and a lot of the policy decisions about maximizing our returns and our investments were done. Any questions or comments for Judy or Josue?
Well, I really appreciate the work that everyone has done. And I just want to acknowledge that West Banco is a big bank, but it is a regional bank still, I think. And the more we can work regionally or locally, especially with our money, keeping it in the region or local, the better. So I think West Banco is a great bank, and I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, I also wanted to say, I think that whole idea of, keeping the money market available as your liquid assets, I think it's a great idea because you're not wasting any opportunities there. So it's a great idea. And the report itself, Julia, appreciate the folks that you work with to really get all this. And certainly there's a lot more information than one expected, possibly, but it's a great deal of very helpful information. And, even the things about COVID and elections, those are the kind of things that you might not link together necessarily at first glance, but it was very helpful to look at the various aspects of the report. Thank you very much.
All right, anything else? Okay, so I have one thing. So Judy, for the next treasurer's report, which I presume we'll see at the beginning of the year, it will have been about a year that we've had an investment consultant. So I would like some analysis on a couple things. So I'll just kind of read off of my notes here. Okay, so I think first of all, it would be good to kind of, get a report out on what the fees look like, because I know there was a sliding scale depending on how much was actively being invested. So how much in fees did we pay in 2020? What kind of gains can we look at, and any other analysis, recognizing that it's been a crazy year and will continue to be so. But I would imagine that, not only some of the quantitative stuff, but also some anecdotal things, because I know that Brad recognized, even when we were interviewing, some things that, some compliance issues. So highlighting some of those things, just that we, understand why we made this investment in a consultant and why, if that was a good decision. So let's think about that a little bit. I would suggest working with Josue, and you can always tap Lisa and I for other thoughts about that. Okay, anything else about the treasurer's report before we move into old business? All right. Cool. So old business, I want to, first of all, I'm going to share my screen. And let's see, let me make sure I've got the right document teed up. I wanted to, this has been something that I know because of other activities that have been urgent and have taken up many hours of council meeting times the last couple of weeks, we have not put in the time on the village goals kind of check-in that we wanted to do following our work session. So I want to highlight a few things, and let me make sure I can scroll this up. Let's see. All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm assuming that folks can see my screen. This was a document I was not able to get to in terms of updates until today. So it will be in the packet for next time, and we can certainly follow up on it. But I think more than anything, it's worth kind of looking at this and thinking about how we do goal setting for 2021. So a couple things I want to highlight and then welcome any comments. First of all, remember the green indicates that it's completed or we have an action plan in place. Yellow indicates that it's in progress and that we're digging into it. And red means we really haven't taken any action. I will admit I might not know about everything going on in every commission. So if there's any coding that doesn't seem accurate, feel free to let me know now or later. We can always, this is a working document as it is every year. But I think there are some notable highlights that I want to mention. First of all, remember 2020 actions, the third column, was our sort of focus on what can we get done this year. This all happened way pre-COVID. We started doing this in, January and February. And, while we've revisited it, a lot of things have taken priority. That being said, you'll notice in certain areas, some pretty incredible work being done. And there's no doubt that everybody has been on, kind of full alert to do lots of things. So again, with the overview, I want to note that, we've done some important things with affordability. I think we have some things to drill down on. We've definitely looked at some things with housing, and then, the comp plan has encapsulated a lot of that. Infrastructure, I feel it's very impressive. We really focused on infrastructure, understanding how much deferred maintenance had been going on, how important this is to all our other goals. And I've been really impressed with the entire village team and how, we're focusing on kind of our primary work as a council to make sure that the lights are on and the water's flowing. On the second page, we've done a lot of work on making sure to keep our budget healthy, and we're going to continue to be vigilant about that. Some economic sustainability things have happened, but I think we're kind of retooling, especially now that the Development Corporation is in place. Justice system, anybody that doesn't know that we're working on this in full force does not pick up the paper or, kind of see anything that's happening in the village, because this has been a major priority. And when we get to the next topic, I was really impressed at how much has happened in a month and a half that we might not all realize related to justice system and anti-racism. Active transportation, I can't say enough about our village team and everyone getting involved in this. One of the things that I know Laura and I need to commit to, and we've already talked about, is getting that active transportation committee going, because there's going to be a lot of future activity. And then we're always thinking about environmental sustainability and resilience with our partners. So I'll just say overall, I think we realized a lot of things that needed to happen, and we've been on track with that. I want to give Josue an opportunity to kind of highlight where his focus has been. Excuse me. And I want to put these two together in kind of thinking about some ideas for goal setting for next year that I want to mention. Because one thing I see that we did well in extracting from these goals is some very specific deliverables that were priorities for Josue and the village team. And I think that's one of the transitions that I want to see us make with our 2021 action items. So Josue, why don't you highlight a few things from your perspective, and then we'll kind of wrap this piece up with any other comments from council. All right, Josue, you're on mute.
Thank you, Brian. I'll review the performance planning document that I have that I've been working off for my team's performance, and then I'll touch base on the goals that you provided an overview with, because we've also accomplished some of those goals, and others where you've got in yellow, we've made significant progress on that can be moved over to the green. So I have a general objectives and some objective matrix for that. One was developing a housing plan that includes the glass farm development. There's a very good conceptual plan that's included in part of the comp plan. And that's part of the objective measure that council will evaluate me on, is being able to produce a conceptual development plan for the glass farm and include an assessment of infrastructure and utility service that are available in the surrounding area and proposed development area. So we've delivered on that, and we've also are delivering on a potential development project on the south side of town. This is the Struan property that is being considered that would be considered for annexation in December. So we're working through that development project, and that also helps contribute or advance our housing goals, and housing at all different levels, from low-income individuals to more moderate and higher income levels. So we're going beyond what the performance measure is for us for this year in that regard. Working with council staff and environmental commission to support the Vernay remediation and protect the health and well-being of the community. We've done a lot of work to get the project moving along. The scope of work was significantly increased for the team here, as we were looking to ensure the safety of our groundwater source, the safety of our public works employees if God forbid there was a main water break there and whatnot. So we've been able to complete the tasks that we identified early on in the remediation process that were not initially included in that remediation plan. So we've been able to move that along, and I feel proud of our accomplishments in that regard. We've had delays. We expected to be done with a statement of basis, but the delays have been for two reasons. One, because the scope of work changed. We asked for additional things. We asked for the soil testing to be done, and that expanded the soil removal that the Vernay remediation team has to do. So, and also COVID has played a part in the delay. But as I reported previously, we hope to get this remediation plan done in the first quarter of 2021, with public meetings happening in early second quarter of 2021. The other one is improving communication with citizens and partners of the village. That not just include making improvements to our website, which we've tried and we did so. We also looked at another platform. We ran into some financial challenges because it's very costly for us to move to another platform, but we are making enhancements. We have incorporated another tool that has assisted with us being able to engage with citizens, and that's our iWorks platform, where folks can submit tickets and we track that progress. Our online social media presence has improved. A good example of how engaged we are with the citizens and how rapid our response is. Just yesterday, we had a major power outage in town, and within an hour and 45 minutes, we were able to get all of our customers up and running. And that's one, we've got a communication tool and method that we can engage rapidly. We've got a deployment process that we deploy our public works teams very quickly. And public safety crew is also part of that rapid response. We couldn't, I don't think that we could get restore power to the full town as quickly as we did if our police officers weren't the first point of contact and they troubleshoot where any down lines are and whatnot, and that information gets passed on to a public works crew so that when they show up, they have a general idea of where our problems are. So I'm very proud of that improvement that we made and improving communications and partners. We've got great relationships with Yellow Spring Schools, the Development Corporation, and others. The other piece was the development of a plan for community broadband. We started the year strong with meetings about design. We did a couple proposal submissions. We applied to the state for seed money to establish the municipal enterprise, and COVID hit. And then we had a very good chance at some of the capital appropriations because, Brian, you were part of these communications. We've networked with the House representatives, and we made our case, and so we had support going into the process. But then those funds just evaporated, and the need and the urgency to respond to COVID. But we made some progress. As next 2 weeks, we will be launching our public Wi-Fi. We have run some fiber as of today to build that fiber backbone. So this is the beginning of that municipal broadband that will we'll be able to light up in a couple of weeks here. So we've done some work in that area. And then I'm sorry, my screen time out here. All right, so that's on the broadband project. On infrastructure, a lot of work has gone into infrastructure. You made reference to it in the goals here, but I'll point out to the highlights. We've done an assessment of many of our utilities. We've done assessment of the stormwater system, which you heard a report on recently. We've done an assessment of electrical grid and what we need to do to improve that. We've done an assessment of sanitary sewers, and we've done an assessment of our wastewater treatment plan, and we have plans to make improvements to all those utilities. So with the sanitary sewers, we did video inspections, cammering of the sewers, and we've done relining of sewers, and that work has been completed, and it's met all the quality standards that we expected. On the wastewater treatment facility, we had a major challenge we were not expecting to deal with, and that is with Renergy. Their zoning permit to do the work that they were doing for us being challenged, and they lost that challenge. So we then had to find another solution of what to do with our biosolids. So we are in the process of, we've got that presser that we've negotiated on, and that's gonna press our biosolids. So that, and also we're looking at efficiencies in the wastewater treatment process. So we've done that work. I feel that we are in a good position with all of our infrastructure advancements. We've worked on all of them progressively. So I hope that you guys are proud of the work that our team has done on this effort, and we will see the fruits of all that labor soon. On economic development, the one of the things that were put on my project list was figuring out what would happen with the fire station and the railroad lot. The railroad lot negotiations and work on that project has stalled, but that doesn't mean our work on general economic development activities haven't continued. We were a part of that, the fire station development, including the development of a tool that would allow us to focus on the items that you've included here, Brian, on the economic sustainability strategy, and that's the development of a strategy to focus on localism, entrepreneurship, and other initiatives. So with Development Corporation, we developed a tool to be able to identify types of projects that meet a lot of the evaluation criteria that are aligned with our community's value. So what's good for the environment, what's good for our people, and what's good for profits all around, not just things that generate high profits, but that they add value to the other business operations and the community. So I think that's another, and that in your sheet, that's something that you could indicate that we're making advancement on. We've got the operating levy. That's something that I was tasked with in terms of conducting some of the work. We have met the educational campaign effort, so we have put together a lot of information, good presentations, good graphics. We've got videos that are running on Channel 5 regularly, and we have videos up on our social media site. So we've done, I think, a very good job at presenting that educational campaign. We are going to know maybe as early as tomorrow night on how our citizens responded to that. I also want to make a disclaimer there that my efforts were exclusive to educational campaigns because I am limited by what I can do legally, and I've got the village solicitor here. So, you know, we've had several conversations about what I can and cannot do. So I certainly stay within the lines of what I'm legally allowed to do. Administratively, we've conducted the RFP for the waste management services. We've done some good progress on that. We've got a new plan. We've also expanded recycling options with the support of council and a village solicitor on what our current ordinances allow us to do, and what we expanded recycling to make that recycling be required at multifamily properties. On the water source capture delineation map, we're not able to do it this year, but we are on Ohio EPA's project list to get their support on redoing the delineation map. So we're going to be able to deliver that for the community next year at no cost to our citizens. This is particularly to point out because we could get it done this year, but it's going to cost us funds that we don't have. And for a service for something that is not as urgent as we thought it would be. And we thought that it was extremely urgent because we had this Bernay property and we thought that there was a level of threat to our drinking water source. With the working with the US EPA, we've been able to rule out that threat based on good modeling that they have access to. So we are confident that by pushing off this project for next year and getting free help from the Ohio EPA, that we will still accomplish the goals that that council set for us without spending any additional funds. The residential solar, we've got a new residential solar generation policies. They're performing well. We're gonna, by the end of the year, we're gonna have a good amount of data to report back to council and the citizens on how well our residential solar program is going. We welcome the opportunity to work with citizens again and have another group of homeowners and residents do residential solar projects on their property. We want to continue the work on renewable energy. We're currently the greenest community in our app and the app association. So I think there isn't an additional goal or to accomplish there. We're already green, but there's so much more opportunity in that space, and there's so much more value that we can create that we want to continue that work. I've also have on my task list the development of a new local solar production project to be owned by the village. So I think I've shared with two council members previously that we're getting rendering for a covered parking area right here at the John Bryan Center. So we're working through that project and that rendering. I'm scheduled to present before Environmental Commission on the project, and then bring it to council for your feedback, and ultimately hope to get as your approval. But we got some work to do in that regard. But I think we will meet that goal to deliver a conceptual project in December 2020. Then finalize the comprehensive land use plan. That's been accomplished. I think we've got a great product. I can't thank Denise enough for her work and leading and spearheading this effort, and the assistance of Aaron from Community Insights. From my takeaway from council's meeting is that we had a great product, and it's a living document that can be easily updated over the years, and it's not just going to sit on a shelf collecting dust. I'll reference the active transportation plan because one of your—
Hey, Josue, this is really great, and I don't want to cut you off, but yeah, I do want to give council members an opportunity to say a few words. So
okay, I will stop it there. I have another 2 pages of updates, but I'll leave it there.
All right, yeah, I will just say as we transition, I am really proud not just of you guys staying on track with goals, but also just with how everything's been handled during this pandemic. It's amazing. I can't imagine any other community has done a better job. So thank you guys.
Thank you, appreciate that, Brian.
Yeah. All right, Mary Ann, any thoughts related to 2020 goals that you want to highlight?
Sure. Well, I will echo Brian that I'm very impressed with the work that staff has done, and also the work that staff and some of the work groups have done to get the things that we see in green and in orange moving along, especially like on our utilities and just a lot of stuff that got done. And I also, as I look at the goals, I see that every year I think we get a little bit better at putting down not only doable goals, but goals that actually we're going to get done. So I have 3 things that I would like to comment on specifically. Under the first goal where it says fund the affordable housing budget line, I don't want to get into it now, but I would like to see that line in our budget when we're talking about the budget, or at least understand why it's not there and talk about what funds have been put in it. It has money moved, et cetera. So that's number 1. Number 2, in the second goal, in red, it says support at least 1 rehab project. This I think is an example of a goal that it's a great goal, but there was no mechanism to actually achieve it. And I think that unless we can say, okay, that we have someone who's going to take the leadership on this and we have collaboration or whatever we need to do it, I think it's better to not put it in, or at least put it in future activities. And then the third and final comment is the bottom one under the second goal: clarify the home ownership and other issues regarding the community land trust model. As far as I'm concerned, this is something that could have and should have been done by now. And I don't think it is very difficult. The issue regards the fact that the way our zoning code reads, it does not account for the variation that the community land trust model is, as opposed to a free fee, simple ownership. And I'm very hopeful that we can get that straightened out by the end of the year. And those are my comments.
Thanks, Marianne. Kevin?
Yeah, I did originally just have one question for Josue, but one of Marianne's points raised a question for me. The budget line for affordable housing, is that the type of activity that requires our coordination with the state auditors to make that change, or is that something just we can do? And I'll just go ahead and ask my other question, and whoever wants to answer both can. The other was related to municipal broadband. I understand that there is one fiber line being run down Corey Street, but I'm wondering, since I know Mavecca has other gig backbones running down South College, for example, the question is, would they use existing broadband backbones, or would everything run from the village offices as a hub?
Okay, and I'm going to jump in and say affordable housing budget line. We've had some updates about that. We can talk about that more in the context of our budget process. And for broadband, we're going to be talking more about that at the next meeting. So I'm just let's put those questions in the parking lot, but we will address them. Anything else, Kevin?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Laura Curlis?
Yes, Brian, as I sent you an email when you sent this out earlier today, that it is amazing how much we do. And sometimes I get concerned that a lot of the things going on don't leave enough room for other important things, just in terms of our capacity with staff, with ourselves. And I guess, and maybe I should just give up on this idea that I've mentioned before, that I'm concerned about us being a housing developer, us. Not that housing development of any kind is necessarily bad. Good projects in good places are terrific. But when I see us doing stuff rather than us supporting others doing it, that's when I wonder, what are we, It seems like we're going full in on being a housing developer as a government. And along that same line on economic sustainability. You know, when the Development Corporation was developed, we passed a resolution making them our economic development agent. So I would suppose they would be the ones hiring the part-time grant writer and hiring the ED professional, not us expanding staff. So in general, I think these are all great things to discuss further when we have a chance as council to do it. And I certainly look forward to the opportunity to have my own input on some of these goals. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura. Lisa Krieger.
Hi, thank you. So, you know, it's really amazing to me that during this year and during all that we've been going through as a community and as a nation, that so much has been accomplished. And this is really a credit to our team's dedication, you know, to Josue, and to some extent the perseverance of this council. But really, my thanks go to the village team. And as I look at these, I didn't really have a chance to really dig into this afternoon, but I do think that some of these that are yellow might go to green, and some that are red may be updated. I share the concern that Laura commented on about capacity, and with that being said, I still want to plant a seed. In the past weeks, I've seen the difference that it makes when young people get involved. And I believe that as a village, we're facing a true risk that we haven't discussed before. And that's the growing risk of a leadership void for people who are willing to run for office, to serve on this council, to serve on nonprofits, but really specifically to serve on this council. And I want very much to be a part of a real push for community leadership development for the next generation of our government. And I'm not quite sure how that manifests on our goals. It's something that's important to me. Maybe it's a more generic goal about education as well. We've talked in the past about the opportunity to more clearly educate the community about the way we do budgets, about how we handle finances, there may be a number of things around which we want to focus on education. But in the years to come, they say the most important thing a leader can do is succession planning. And I think it's time to start doing that here in our community. So that's just something I've been thinking about a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. That I definitely think that should be in our goals. Okay, so let me highlight a few things. And again, I think more than anything, I wanted to do this update and the color coding just so we could really see wow, but also rethink how we're writing those actions. Some of the comments you guys mentioned about capacity, are these the things we should be focusing on? And I think we're gonna do an even better job in 2021. So I have a couple things I'm gonna suggest. First of all, I want better participation from all council members on our year-end review. So we started doing this 2 years ago, my first year as council president, and Lisa and I have worked on those presentations in the past, but I'm gonna send out the one from last year, and I wanna make sure that in the next, let's say 3 weeks, and I'll give a date, that whatever things the council members think are important, and I also want Josue to participate and capture what, from his perspective and the village team's perspective, is important. Josue, I think we could collaborate on our year in review, but if you still want to do them separately, we can talk about that offline. But I think part of what will be helpful for our goal setting for 2021 is to see what everybody prioritized and look at all of that to, I think, distill out what are the things we should really focus on. I think that'll be helpful. So I want to have that captured in our last meeting on December 21st, which we've had in the past, but I want to give everybody plenty of heads up about that. The second thing is I want to dedicate a good chunk of that December 21st meeting on preliminary goal setting. So again, I want everybody to be thinking about what we just looked at, how our priorities have shifted, how we can better articulate these items. And again, this will be something where, I think in the past, I'm happy to take in the ideas and capture them all in a spreadsheet, but I want to come to that December 21st meeting and have a good discussion, not finalize the goals, but have a good draft. So going into our first meeting in January, we can revisit that and see where we're at. So those are my initial thoughts. I will help, along with Judy's support, make sure all council members and Josue have those items, and then we'll go from there. So any final questions before we move to updates on anti-racism?
I bet Philip can help us with pictures.
All right, that sounds good, yes.
That's always my hard part.
Yeah, right, that does take some time. Philip's on the picture, I like that, thank you. Okay, anything else?
It's been volunteered.
Excellent, let him know. All right, Laura, were you gonna say something else?
No,
okay.
no.
Okay, so anyway, but I wanna echo what Mary Ann said. I think we're getting better and better on goals, but seeing everything here and what Josue's focused on, I think we're really gonna refine them this year. So let's move to the other old business item. And I wanna kind of remind everyone related to time. Last meeting, I promised that we would have a reasonably timed meeting, which we will. So I wanna spend a little bit of time on the Justice System Collaborative Committee because it had kind of amazed me when I reflected on the meetings over the last month and a half, what's been accomplished. And I think there's so many different activities and so many different people working on things within and without of the committee. It kind of leads to two comments I want to address. One of them came from a council member who I won't name, but there was a feeling that the JSCC is a rabbit hole. And even when I reflected on that and I looked at some of the activities I'm gonna highlight, I'm gonna suggest that I think the JSCC is actually getting us away from the rabbit hole that we've sometimes had in the past where lots of great ideas come up and then they get lost somewhere because these items remain on our radar. However, the important thing about this initiative is that it requires all the energy from all the community members and all the organizations, and now all the council members and village team to move those things forward. This committee is not designed to, we can't meet for hours and hours and dig in on all that work, and we don't need to recreate what's already out there. We already have the Arts and Culture Commission. We have the Human Relations Commission. We have the 365 Project. We've got, gosh, so many different groups that are working on things. We've got the young protesters that have brought a lot of things to our attention and are getting more involved. We've got the folks that are looking at things like the banner. So we want to redirect all those activities, but not lose them on our radar. The other thing I want to highlight is a comment that I heard from a couple citizens about how the committee, I'll just be frank, there are too many police department representatives on the committee. The thing I want to also highlight is that the goal of the committee is to take these great ideas, figure out how we move them forward, And it is very important, which we did not have this on the task force, the Justice System Task Force, that we have the village manager and our police team leadership and others there in those discussions, because ultimately that has to happen. And that had been a delay and a disconnect in the past. Again, a lot of these discussions happen outside of the committee, but that is actually the structure that we're trying, and I think it's really working. And this is why I think it's working. And I am happy for any folks to chime in, but as I started to list the things that have been championed, one of the things that Laura Curlis has championed is the decriminalization of minor misdemeanors. And this follows sort of why we decriminalized marijuana possession. Not only does it have an anti-racism effect, but it also supports a lot of other disadvantaged groups, like those that are economically disadvantaged and so forth. And I am expecting a plan of action from Laura and anyone else that she's working with, as well as the village team, about how we move these things forward. Laura's already brought up some great ideas, and I know she's working with folks. Mary Ann McQueen took on the de-escalation preparedness community training. And I know there's some things happening there. Mary Ann already mentioned the group that worked on being peacekeepers. This has been something that's been talked about for a long time. No one's ever championed it. And now these discussions are happening and things are moving. That's very exciting. The implicit bias and diversity training that, there was a call for this to be village team wide, not just the police department, but our other staff members and council. And so I know that Kevin has helped bring forward a spreadsheet to track this training. I know a next step is going to be to make sure that the existing training that is part of our free platform as being a village is something we'll explore. And then we want to continue to expand our understanding of bias, implicit bias, racism, and keep on working on that. And so I think with all of these, I know that the folks that are championing them have a vision. They link to a lot of other things. And that reminds me of one of the things that Lisa Krieger has been championing, which is the Encounter Data Initiative, where when residents have interactions with our peace officers, and not just with our peace officers, but our entire staff, they can provide feedback and we can be using that to continuously improve. And again, these initiatives break off, interested individuals are working on them, and I'm happy to see that moving forward. Evaluations. We've talked for a while about evaluations that better reflect the guidelines for village policing and some of our other values for our peace officers. We also want to bring in our core values that we call CORCL, which involve a variety of things like being open, being results-oriented, being empathetic, being locally oriented, and so forth. And the other thing that Chief mentioned in one of our budget meetings is anticipating some of the comments around, can we change the uniforms of our officers? And that's something that's being contemplated that we're going to be talking more about. Josue has been taking the lead to not only develop and keep updated a SharePoint site, which folks can have access to, but also developing the data that we can use to evaluate and continuously improve. So I do want to give all these folks a chance to elaborate on these initiatives and sort of where we're going and what the bigger vision is and what the outcomes are. And we may have a few minutes to do that now. But I just wanted to give that overview because when you look at the full picture, it's pretty awesome that we are starting to move these things forward. And so many of them have been talked about for a long time. So the final example I want to mention, and I think this, again, hopefully helps better understand how the committee is working, and it's a work in progress like so many things, but is the initiative that Angela Allen has brought forward that we talked a lot about with the community sit downs. There's a final plan. She's been reaching out to make those happen, and these tie into some things that we're gonna see happen as a result of that. The information and feedback we get from those community sit downs where we're developing relationships between peace officers and community members will lead to doing a better job with the encounter data, and we can constantly improve that, as well as leading to the Citizen Review Board, which is an initiative that Lisa is also championing. And I think with all of these initiatives, I want us to be thinking about that sort of like further vision, how we keep moving these forward. There are plenty of other initiatives to be further developed, but if you look at, and I guess I could share it real quickly, this chart, which we are constantly updating, a lot of these colors need to change as well. The activity that's been done, we're starting to move down and see more and more things happen. So that was pretty much the overview I wanted to give. I'm happy for any folks on the village team to chime in with anything they want to highlight. But ultimately, I want to just mention that this work is going to continue. We're going to keep moving things forward, and it's about just creating a plan to implement. So I'm going to stop there, and if there are any comments or questions, feel free to mic on.
Yep. I have a comment. Go ahead, Laura.
Well, just one other effort that's going on, and this is with other people outside of the Justice System Coordinating Committee, Justice System Subgroup, is there's a movement to work on ending cash bail. And there's been good work done by the ACLU in studying cash bail and all the damaging collateral effects it has in people's lives, as well as the cost to the taxpayer, which is estimated to be over $195 million a year. In the state of Ohio, not all the states, in the state of Ohio. In any event, I've drafted a resolution that at some point I want to bring forward the council to review, that we would support that effort in Greene County as well as elsewhere in the state and the nation to end cash bail. There are other things that courts can do to ensure that people comply with the court process, and cash bail further creates a two-tiered system of justice. So we will be bringing that forward when the time's right. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, I'm glad that that is moving forward. And Lisa?
Yeah, so I want to thank you, Brian, because you stepped in and picked up this whole initiative with really strong coordination, and it's really made a difference. And it's a very different model than our commission model, and that makes it challenging to try something new. But I think the results speak for themselves. And one of the central results that I would like to point out is that because of the design, every single person on council has been able to be involved without having any kind of breach in the sunshine laws. We're all able to support this very, very important lift. Not only that, we have had, I think, unprecedented community participation. Week after week, people come in and out as they can, which we know is really the expectation for people now who don't want to just sign up to be in some group that meets monthly and for an hour and a half or whatever. People come in and out. They work on things they're passionate about. We have a broad variety of people, truly diverse group, diverse ages. And so, I mean, it's not that easy to navigate. It has taken a single point of leadership but I think we're proving that we've gotten a lot done, and I'm really grateful to the community for their involvement, because when you multiply the number of hours that have been committed to this initiative, it's just really impressive. So I'm proud of the community and their commitment to social justice and anti-racism.
Thanks for highlighting that, Lisa. Mary Ann, Kevin, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just quickly add that the Education and Training Subcommittee, we are making progress, although we did have our first meeting scheduled last week, and Kellyanne and I were unfortunately only 2 of the 7 or so members. So I think we just need to do a better job of communicating, but we are reaching out. We do have a subcommittee formed, and I would certainly echo Lisa's comments and thanking you, Brian, for all the work you've done, and also go back on another point that Lisa made with respect to potential leadership void. I think when this JSCC, the Justice System Collaboration Committee, is an example of people, to Lisa's point, people working towards their passion, but I think this also could prove as a hook, if you will. These folks, they're coming in with this one focus, and I think, certainly I'm not obligating anyone, but I'm saying, once you get involved with local government in this fashion, I think we are creating a pool of potential current and or future leaders with respect to council and other commissions. So I think it's just been a positive movement all the way around, and I'm certainly glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, Kevin, great point. And Naya is an example of that. Moving from leading, being one of those leaders on the Saturdays to getting involved in the JSCC. And now she's an Arts and Culture Commission member because she found that niche. So very good point. Mary Ann, anything else? Okay. Chief Carlson, do you want to add anything? Chief, yeah, go ahead.
I'm still here. Sorry, Brian. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of progress. I'm excited about moving forward with the evaluations part of what we're doing. In a nutshell, this will allow our department to work more toward the goal of officers that are a fit for the style of policing that the village would like us to use. That's been a real difficult hurdle since I've taken this role as your chief of police. And we have trained officers. People are good at following policy and procedure, but it's always difficult to move people along, if you will, that we don't find a fit for the style of policing that we have. So that is one giant leap forward that we'll be able to make and pull from some of the tragedy that's come about. And I echo everyone's comment in thanking everyone that's been involved. I'm very appreciative to Kellyanne for staying diligent with keeping scheduling going. I know it's difficult, and we'll just continue forward. But I really want to thank everyone for being involved, and remember that I'm always here. If you have any ideas or suggestions, please bring them to me directly, and we're excited about moving forward. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Chief. And yeah, thanks for that shout out to Kellyanne. She's been great at trying to keep everybody on track. And, and then we also know that different projects take priority and those champions are key. Josue, you want to add anything?
Thank you, Brian. I'm going to echo what some of the council members and Brian said, is that thank you, Brian Hausch, for taking the lead on this. I think that you took on a monumental task, and in such a short amount of time, we've been able to make some significant progress. And so thank you for that. Thank you for all the council members who participated. I think this is, to Lisa's point, has been very unique to have something that everyone can be involved in without a crazy 3-hour meeting or having to do all these meeting requirements. It's been a very fruitful process. And to our team, to my team, who's been very eager to resolve challenge, to be innovative in that space. When I think it highlights the collaborative nature of this administration now that, we get a project, whether it's data encounter or evaluations and whatnot, and we're ready to jump at it. We're ready to solve problems because we're here to deliver for our residents, and we can get a lot done by collaborating and talking through the challenges. I think that's what we've been able to demonstrate in this iteration of the work. Having the citizens that are actively engaged and want to roll up their sleeves and get things done versus having, just talking about a problem and talking more about a problem. It's being solution focused, resolution focused, and working on tasks at hand and getting it done. So, but talk about other things that I've been involved in. It's been a pleasure to be involved in all the work that I've been involved in. I think that we have organically developed this approach to be strength-based. A good example is the engagement surveys. I don't know all the questions that go into it, but we can put together the system and people can respond to it and say, okay, yeah, we're heading in that direction. And we have this reiterative process that we make incremental improvements to it until we get to the place that we need to get to versus focusing right away on what's going to be the perfect solution. And by God, if it's not perfect, no one's moving. We made some good progress.
Thanks for that, Josue. All right, so I'm going to wrap up with two things. One is a request, and this was something that came up at a couple meetings related to our development of the data, and that is related to, I know that our peace officers do a good job of sort of recording their activities and things that are going on. And so we've talked at a couple JSCC meetings about moving that into some kind of spreadsheet or something where we can evaluate the data as we've done with some of the stuff around stops and other things that I think was easier to transfer. The sooner we can do that, the better, because not only do I think that will help us during the budgetary process and understanding, the aspects of the budget, but the needs, but also I think it's important as we move in this direction of matching our services with personnel and everything along those lines. So I'm going to ask Josue and Chief and the rest of the team to see if we can't figure out a way to capture some of that as soon as possible. And the second thing is I am going to commit to championing the drilling down on, there's kind of two aspects of this. One is the diversity hiring practices that we've been developing, not just for our team members, but also extending this to our vendor selection practices. So I'm gonna look more at that and work with interested citizens and team members on that piece. And the second aspect of that is making sure that our hate crime and I guess anti-racism policies for any vendors that we use or service providers are also in place. So also that they have the right kinds of values in the way that they're doing their work. And so that'll be something that is part of that initiative in my mind. And I know Brianne will be helping with that as well. So that's another initiative, again, that I want to make sure is elevated because we've been talking about that and working on it for several years. Okay, so with that, I think it would be a good time to move to the manager's report. And Josue, I'll just mention, keep it to the highlights so that we are on time for probably our shortest meeting in the history of Yellow Springs Village Council.
Oh man, you put all of that on me?
Yeah. Nice preface, right?
Yes, yes. All right. We have started the work on the installation of the public Wi-Fi. We've had a bit of delay on equipment, but that's underway. So as I mentioned earlier, we expect that to get that out up and running in 2 weeks. We've also submitted 2 grant applications as a follow-up to the previous meeting where council approved the project list. So I've continued that work about asking partners for additional funding. So that's, we put out a request to the Greene County government for some of their CARES Act, and also submitted an application to the Yellow Springs Community Foundation. On the Vernay cleanup, our next meeting is scheduled for November 12th, where we're following up on all the pending items, and we hope to get a better idea of where we are on the statement of basis. As you know, members of the subcommittee participate in that group, so that's scheduled for the 12th. We've put a lot of work in the drafting of the 2021 budget. So we're heading into our 3rd work session tomorrow morning with that. So that's going well. The audit reports have been completed and submitted to the state. We've scheduled an audit conference for the team here. And I bring that up because later in my report, I make reference that we are reviewing operating procedures for accounting and finance. And now with the assistance of Matt's taking a lead on creating our internal finance manual. That's documenting all of our processes and procedures, and particularly our internal controls. So we're really excited to get that work going, and Matt's leading that effort. The police department, you know, they've delivered over 3,000 masks to citizens, so we continue that engagement with the citizens. I particularly bring that up because over the last couple of weeks, I've received criticism on our lack of enforcement of the law, and we don't see it as a lack of enforcement of the law. I think we're trying to use our most effective tools, and gelling people and finding people isn't the solution. We are employing all of our tactics that we have, and I think we've done a really good job. The chief and I discuss our caseload or COVID cases on a daily basis, and we track where our infections are coming from, and we talk about strategies to intervene and what other things that we need to do. So we continue that effort behind the scenes to ensure that we are engaging the right individuals with the right methods to get compliance. Visitors continue to be a challenge, but Chief and his command team has stepped up patrols and daily walks through the downtown area to ensure we're making public contact and making clear the expectation. And this is particularly important because 4 days ago, we hit the highest peak of COVID cases in Ohio. So you would think that after so many months, we would have gotten better at this, but no, our numbers show that we gotten worse. Now, there are things to factor in on that. Schools have reopened, and there are a lot of other activities that are on the way that are adding to that number. But the number still remains high. It's still very peak, and we're seeing a lot of challenges with the COVID cases. So we've done a lot of training. I want to thank Kevin for his work on reviewing what training is available through the platform, and I'm happy to report that all of our officers have completed their anti-bias police training. There are 2 sections to it, so we've got that. They've all passed their exam. There's also an exam associated with it, so I know exactly what they're scoring and how much they're spending on those trainings. So I'm really happy to see the progress that we've made there. We've also done diversity benefits courses for the employers and diversity in the workplace, diversity for all. On public works, I'm impressed with all the work that we are doing in all of our public works, including how quickly we can respond to issues. So I want to thank the crews yesterday that got us up and running with power within under 2 hours. So they're doing a great job. We completed the exercising of the valves and the hydrant flushing, and that was successful. That's particularly important to highlight because one of the worries that we have when we do these exercises is will a valve break? And what does it mean if it breaks? We're going to have a leak or have to replace a pipe. So we did that. We're done with the hydrant flushing, and so we're good. So we're good into the next test, I think, or until something breaks. We're starting work on cleaning out the water wells 2 and 5 at our water well field, and that's an important maintenance of the work is to ensure that the lining of those wells are clean to pump our water. So that's underway. The replacement of the lift pump is underway. That lift pump is that expensive $50,000 pump that you guys authorized us to buy this year, and as part of the capital plan. So that's being installed. Streets, we've had a couple backups in the sewer system. Our team cleared out 3 backups in town, and those are just, they're coming from obstructions to our sanitary sewer system. Water is pulling in things that shouldn't be in there, such as debris, and also folks just flushing things that aren't flushable, or at least they make it through the toilet, but they're not supposed to. So created some backups. We had some sidewalk repairs over on North Winter Street. There was a bench creating an obstruction near the bike shop. We have removed that, so that's cleared. We also cleared some catch basins. After transportation plan, the Safe Routes to School project, we've included that expense in our 2021 budget. So that's something that we're scheduled to kick off in 2021. So we continue our work with meeting with the ODOT and our electric crews to prepare for that work. The active transportation plan, we continue those meetings. We've hit a bit of a roadblock. The contractor who's doing the engineering on it has estimated that the cost of the project has significantly increased. So we're scheduling a meeting with our project coordinator with ODOT, Tom. Denise is taking the lead on this, and we are going to revisit this project. It's particularly important because this project, we were awarded as a 0 match grant in amount of 1.7 million, but with the cost increasing, there's a conversation that ODOT wants to have with us about the project. So I'll keep you informed about that. On the parks, this is exciting. Ellis Pond, you know that we have this floating, it's called the floating filamentous algae that's causing problems at the pond. We will be installing a surface aeration system that will help filter that system and minimize the algae. With that, I'm gonna leave it there, Brian, because we got a timeline.
All right, thanks, Josue. But I do always appreciate your excitement about presenting all these items. And thanks for that manager's report. And I will say back to your other 2 pages related to goals. Yeah, please share that with us. We want to see it all. Okay, future agenda items.
Brian, did you want a discussion on broadband?
Yes.
And then we need to bring back resolution 2020-46.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've got.
Okay. Anything else from council members? Lisa?
Council, should we haven't had commission updates. Time to do those for a while.
Yeah,
at least have people submit written reports.
Yeah. Yeah, that would especially be good since we're getting to the end of the year. So yeah, we'll make sure to highlight that. Thanks. Anything else?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm not seeing anything else, but of course, can always let Judy or I know if there's something you'd like on the agenda. All right. Well, I think I want to say that even though this is a shorter meeting for us, we really covered a lot, and I thought the discussions were excellent. And you know, I don't know. Today, I kind of, for once, got out of a COVID haze, and you know, saw some real positives in a variety of things. So, think opportunity. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
And let's wish everyone a very wonderful next day or so.
Yes, everyone hang in there. It will get
Yeah.
better. All right. So I heard a motion from Lisa. Is there a second?
Second, I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Vote.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, dear ones. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Blessings to all.